Today we're back with my Christmas tree. I'm guessing it's some sort of false cypress, but I've no idea. At the end of the last video it was autumn and I wired up the tree. Now it's spring, and if we take a closer look at the foliage, you can see the tips are a slightly different colour. Basically they're like buds and the new growth is starting to grow. Which means it's a perfect time to do a repot and do some root work. For some reason, every tree I repotted this year had some kind of footage missing. So we magically joined this tree after the soil has been removed. You can't get too wild with a tree like this, you have to be quite cautious. So I'm going to remove anything like this really high root here and basically just give the rest a light prune. It's a decent root ball anyway, so it doesn't need much work. This is all I pretty much removed. This was coming out of the bottom, and then there was that weird high root, so a very conservative root prune for me. Even though I've got a bigger pot here, I'm repotting it back into the same small red pot. Whatever was going in the brown pot was probably going to be repotted straight after this. Anyway, it's not very complicated. I just shoved a little soil in and used a stick to wiggle it in between the roots. The soil will drop down and fill in any spaces, and then you can just add more soil on top until it's all settled in. You don't really need to worry about the height in the pot or the front at this stage. That's something you can worry about in a few years. So here it is a few weeks later in May. It looks healthy enough, and it was at this point I thought about wiring it. But I didn't have any wire, so I ordered some online. And of course, I stupidly bought it from some guy in China. So it took like 3 months to arrive. Which actually was a sort of blessing, as if we zoom in here, you can see the tips are starting to go brown. By July, it's a pretty big problem. Quite a lot of the tree is browning and dying back. Leaving the dead bits on doesn't harm the tree, but at the same time, it is blocking light to the inner parts, so it could make things worse. So it's just best to remove it. I'm not fully sure what's happened, but I think the tree didn't get enough water. We had a very warm spring here this year. There wasn't really a spring, it just pretty much went straight to summer. Although I didn't prune the roots hard, they still needed time to recover fully. And as there wasn't really a spring, they didn't get a chance to adjust and be eased into the warmth. I also probably didn't water as much as I should have. That's probably what's happened. I'm glad I didn't wire the tree, as that might have actually killed it off, let alone just waste my time. I think this tree pretty much sums up 2020, just a bit of a disaster. I had high hopes for this tree, but now it's been set back quite a bit, but I'm sure we can rebuild it. After removing all the dead bits, it doesn't look great, but I haven't lost all hope. In August, some parts looked very healthy and other bits looked a bit crispy, which isn't really what I want to see. In October, I think it's done growing, and I think it's done dying as well. So I think it's time to try and clean it up again. The low winter sunlight is awful, but hopefully you can see what's happening. Basically just cutting off anything that's brown. Luckily there is some small weak inner growth, like here. If this can develop, the tree will be fine. It might take a few years, but I can get it back. After pruning the dead stuff off, there really isn't much left. All the main growth is away out at the tips, so I really need that inner growth to develop. And here we are now. The tree is dormant now, so hopefully next year it will recover and I can start moving it forward again. Thanks for watching. See you next time.